Super Metroid, as the mechanics of the ROM require that so far in order to set controls. Not too many options available, just one item in logic, so we will find that most runners will go down and transition into the game. Thoris, is there any particular route that you prefer when you're playing this?
I've had a number of different experiences where if I don't go down and check it, it tends to be a very important. But
Absolutely, you can have Vanilla Morph Ball is probably the biggest troll that that item can be in Blueprint Star. And we only have a heart piece on Lake Hylia Island. Only an arrow upgrade in Link's house. This randomizer is running off of version 29 of the Link to the Past logic, so arrow and bomb upgrades are still in the item pool. And we
Sanctuary
see
containing just a key.
kind of nice to have, knowing that it's not locked in the back. See 3 of our runners all going over to Link's uncle, getting a bomb upgrade, and making their way over to the secret passage for another arrow upgrade. So a little bit dry so far, but once the runners get to Kakariko, things usually pick up quite a bit.
There's a nice rupee pool on the tree. Nice set of red rupees for your trouble.
Oh, and the crab drop is 5 blue rupees, which will be very useful going into Kakariko.
Also looked like a blue rupee on the lumberjack cave, so Aga is probably not required.
And Diaz making their way east of Sanctuary, going to this fairy drop to set up a fun little glitch called Houlihan. It works by offsetting the camera down by 1 pixel, which he does by jumping into the water several times, and as the camera scrolls up and down, he's looking for the position of that bush to change. And when he drops into the hole, he gets into this lovely hoard of 255 blue rupees, which is the room the game puts you in when they're not sure where to put you.
I'm sort of surprised to still see this being used, because isn't there not a substantial amount of rupees to be found in chests?
There is, but because they're spread over 316 locations rather than 216, early rupees are a bit hard to come by in Combo Randomizer, especially for buying bombs. Had a heart piece in the mushroom spot, and I believe Iris picked up
believe it's
missiles
normal
from the
missiles,
thieves.
We did have a very quick map check as well.
I believe I saw a pendant in desert and the other 2 light worlds being crystals, and on India's screen that seemed to confirm that.
Green pendant, however, in desert, so that will open Shahashala.
Potentially. Iris finding a bottle in Blind's Hideout, that's very useful for getting all your Kakariko checks in one.
It's always nice to mark off Sick Kid while you're here.
Ooh, was that Ice Beam in the back of Sarashwala along with some super missiles?
It was indeed.
And speaking of Sick Kid, Iris turning in the bottle and getting a nice energy tank.
It's nice to see he becomes nice and healthy in the future.
Absolutely. And Diaz making the early Eastern play, and it is a fairly common routing after you do Houlihan. You'll get those rupees, come out of Link's house, buy bombs from the Hylia Island shop, and then go up to Sarashla and Eastern. Iris bought their bombs from the Kakariko shop and now going back to check the bombable wall and blinds and chicken hut, as well as the well.
We also got an early big key in Eastern Palace, so that puts the big chest before your lamp.
Some nice money in the well, which kind of saves time on doing that hula hand, but you never know when those rupees are going to show up.
Now look to be a fire rod picked up in the Eastern Palace by Indiaz.
Kachiri is going to give us our first look at the back of blind, with Iris following quickly behind him. Even more
Meteoric is
cash.
also taking down to the dam, which contains a full heart.
I believe that was a vanilla compass in Eastern there. Zora play would require either flippers or gloves to be in logic at this point. Although Fake Flipper is definitely in the cards. However, they'd only be able to get that one item. Oh, that was Mirror in Eastern. That's very useful. Only a green rupee on the library. And just a pack of power
bombs on.
Oh, and we've got Cane of Burna in the race game. Not required for anything, but very nice to have. Well, Diaz goes to the last available check in logic. Doesn't quite have the health in order to do the damage boost.
I believe this room normally requires a lamp to be on logic.
Yeah, only a heart piece. And Nidarific picking up the silvers from Agina. And yes, Nick Wolf, this is a free-for-all race. We have 4 runners featured on Restream and an additional 2 off Restream at this point. No sharing of items or information.
Let's see how trolly the mini mold arms can be.
Nidarific not having a great time with them. Having some very rude patterns.
Needs to be careful, he's down to his last 2 bombs.
Ah, gets it. And is rewarded with an energy tank, some bomb refill, a sword, 50 rupees, and the morph ball. Oh. So that's very useful. I don't believe, though, anybody has picked up a pack of power bombs yet. We saw that one pack on Desert Ledge. So with the morph ball, it doesn't actually put that much extra into logic yet. Iris is making their way through Hyrule Castle.
Nidarific need to be careful around these crabs. They do a lot of damage for having only 4 hearts and no defense upgrade.
Yes, those crabs do 2 hearts of damage, and many times they cause an untimely death, and is only getting 20 rupees in Ice Rod Cave. Iris using bomb strats in Hyrule Castle. Ooh, and gets blue mail for her efforts. That's very nice. Kachiri is not having very much luck with the mini Molderms. They're giving him very rude patterns, and he's down to 1 heart.
As long as they can remain on that side of the pit, they tend to be okay.
He's got 2 bombs left for this last Moldorm. It seems to be stuck in the corner. And Owing is rewarded with a nice 8-bomb drop. That's a very nice refill.
Time to find out what's in Zelda's chest. A pack of super missiles.
So I don't believe that we've seen anything left in Link to the Past logic. I think all of our runners have traversed everywhere, so it looks like that early morph ball might be key. They certainly could fake flip her to Hobo and Zora. But I think our progression will likely be in Blue Brinstar at this point. Maybe morph bombs or a pack of power bombs. High jump boots would put an additional item in logic.
I do like to see obscure items like Screw Attack or Speed Booster as your main progression though.
Those would both be really good to find with the morph ball. That would open up most of Brinstar, but they still would like to get one pack of power bombs at least. I suppose the other option would be that they could sequence break to Dark Cross, and with that key from Sanctuary, get the 3 items in the back of Escape. And yes, in order to do the full Brinstar loop, 2 Powerbomb packs is the absolute minimum. You can do it with 5, but you're going to be spending a lot of time farming. And 3 is really ideal. You don't really need to worry about running out of power bombs at that point. Looks like our runners are going to be retracing each other's steps for a little bit. Trying to think if just the morph ball puts anything else in logic, and I don't believe so. Maybe. Oh, what if we got vanilla morph bombs from Bomb Chorizo?
Would the logic allow that? Because there is the potential to soft lock in there.
That's true. You think that I think vanilla morph bombs might be allowed in the logic, since you can always reset in Super Metroid. Oh, and yes, Miss Metroid, our tracker, pointing out that they could do... Actually, no, I don't believe Alcatraz Escape is in logic for normal logic.
I believe that's only in hard mode, yeah.
Iris making her way into Eastern. She'll get her Fire Rod and Mirror here. And yes, it's certainly something that can be done, but I don't believe the logic expects it. So I think the only in-logic item right now would be the vanilla morph ball location. While our runners are retracing each other's steps, just a reminder that this amazing combo randomizer was developed by Total, Lenifus, and others. Combines both Super Metroid and Link to the Past logic. The games are connected by 4 in-game portals. One by Lake Hylia that goes to Brinstar, one on Death Mountain that takes you to Upper North Fair, one in the Dark Ice Rod Cave that takes you to the back of Meridia, and the last one is the other Mire Shed, the one to the right of Mire, that takes you to Lower North Fair by Screw Attack. And the ceiling item near Billy Mays... Oh, you're talking the one that goes under. Yes. Okay, that one would be in logic as well. It's so unusual to go to those places without any kind of bombs that it's easy to forget that you don't need them. Sounds like Iris was spamming her fire rod. Unfortunately, I don't believe that the fire rod allows you to navigate in the dark. There is no
No, but if you
echolocation yet.
If you know where the lamps are and you hit one of those, there are no lamps in that room.
Unfortunately, those 2 dark rooms, there are no lamps. The dark room immediately north of the big chest does have a lamp in it, but I think she's just serenading us at this point. The fire rod was right where Kachiri is picking it up in the eastern chest of Eastern. Now, did Iris not check Uncle and the secret passage when she was over here? Because I know she did complete escape and got her blue mail, so... Looks like maybe she's just picking up some magic.
Fire rod is great as an offensive weapon, but however, magic is quite hard to come by some.
She might be hoping to use that in Mini Muldworm Cave.
Looks like Nitorific is going through sewers with the use of the sword to navigate.
We'll see if hopefully we can see what the item in the Dark Cross is. Oh, looks like it was the Cane of Samaria. Thank you, Miss Metroid. The most difficult part about navigating the back half of the sewers is coming up in a room or two. Oh, no, he's already got the key rat boss, which is difficult. There's one key that drops an item. The keys have somewhat difficult to predict motions. Mine's 20 rupees, an energy tank. And the last chest is the map. Now there are...
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say it was interesting to see if the red cane will play a part later on when they get to Dark World.
It's entirely possible that it won't be. There could be... The other 2 pendants could be Misery Mire and Turtle Rock, in which case Samaria would not be required unless the big key is on the right side of Ganon's tower. And Iris picked up that magic from the sewer chest in order to make this navigation through the back of sewers a bit more efficient.
And Diaz has returned to Super Metroid. We should hopefully see what's on our blue Brinstar. Or Bomb Trees first.
Yes. Now, will we get vanilla morph bombs? Nope, only 10 arrows. Nidourific also going into Super Metroid. And Diaz having a pretty good Alcatraz escape. That's not an easy wall jump to learn.
Also doing the moonfall to make the climb a short work.
So I believe this next check that N. Diaz is going to make is the last in logic check. That lamp is technically out of logic, and it doesn't actually open up anything additional at this point.
I believe it's in logic because they have Ice Beam. They could just
Oh,
make
you're
a platform.
right.
However, it doesn't open up anything on its own. However, there's a pack of power bombs for them.
There we go. Now 1 pack of power bombs. That's enough to explore all of Brinstar. Ideally, they'll find another pack along the way.
Also nice and convenient to have it just below Billy Mays' room. Wouldn't have to farm up some power bombs to get in and out.
And Billy Mays only having a heart piece and 50 rupees. And Diaz says no thanks to those rupees. But you're right, it's very nice to find your power bombs right here and not have to make your way back. Kachiri showing his distaste for what the ice rod chest holds by leaving a bomb behind. Magic Cape. Now, with that sword from Mini Moldorm and the lamp from that energy tank location, that now puts Aghanim in logic.
It may be our only way to access the Dark World.
I imagine, though, that Indiaz is going to clear out as much of Super Metroid as they can before making the play to Aghanim. Number one, because nobody ever wants to do Aghanim, and number two, it might be a red herring.
And there's a power glove. There's the power glove below Mother Brain. Meanwhile, Iris and Kuchi getting 50 rupees from the hobo.
Chiri trying to set up the fake flippers from the part of Hobo, which it's a much more specific pixel and it's a little bit difficult to line up. And yes, chat often wants runners to go do Aga, but the runners themselves often don't.
I can't complain. My personal best run has an Aga. Is an Aga run.
And Dia is going to refill their 5 power bombs at the ship. With this, they are not able to... Well, they could potentially go into Gauntlet, but they wouldn't have enough missiles to complete it, and it would be out of logic at this point anyway, since the wall jump to get up there is hard logic only, although the wall jumps are certainly possible. It appears that, though, that N. Diaz is going back into Link to the Past, and I think he's taking the Agabate. I think he's like, nope, this was way too late. But
Or with the glove, he might be heading up to Death Mountain.
oh, that's correct. With the lamp and the glove, Death Mountain is in logic. With the mirror from Eastern, the Hera would be in logic as well with the sword from Mini Moldorm Cave.
But first making a quick pit stop at the back of Escape.
I'm pretty sure he had the key from Sanctuary, so I'm not sure why he didn't go through and go backwards to Dark Cross. Hopefully he doesn't forget about that if that Cane of Samari is ever required.
It's always a risky play to leave something behind, especially when you have the tools to obtain it. Iris making a little platform to get to the lamp.
Nitorific is going to go and do the Bryn Loop. Only 20 rupees at Terminator. 20 missiles would be very nice. Doing the check at the back of Gauntlet to pick up an extra power bomb. Only missiles and 50 rupees. And yes, Moon Pearl on the Pyramid Ledge is a possibility, or perhaps an item that leads to Moon Pearl.
Moon Pearl can exist in some very bizarre locations.
Absolutely. The other things that we could find, if we find some combination of flute and the other glove, the Moon Pearl could be in Checkerboard Cave. Nothing particularly interesting in the Brinstar Reserve. Nitorific going up to Alpha Supers, early Supers rather, for 20 bucks.
Just 20 rupees on top of Spectacle Rock. I didn't quite catch what was inside it, but NDS is choosing not to go for it, so it implies it's not important.
I believe it was an arrow upgrade. That glove also does put Zora in logic. Missiles for the first item at Edekun's. And 20 bucks.
The first check in Hera is the map.
Now, if this item...
Basement, however, not to be much concerned as they have both fire sources.
That's true. May still be required for the second item. Edekun's itself only has a missile. And Diaz, once he reaches the top of the tower, is going to have a vanilla Mothula fight with Fighter Sword, which requires 6 slashes, and after slash 3, Moldorm will go into the enraged phase, which makes them much more difficult to hit.
Oh, vanilla moon pearl.
That's interesting. So now we are just a glove or a hammer away from Dark World access. Or both of those could be in the Dark World, and Aghanim is required anyway. And Iris finding a Master Sword on the mode item.
Nedorific finding a second pack of power bombs inside the pink brain star.
They are going to be very happy to find those. Charge beam location is a missile.
And yeah, it's cleaning up Moldorm very nicely. And Nedorific checking the event after Sports Bomb.
Churi taking that lamp. Are they going to make the Aga play or just go through Dark Cross? Looks like just Dark Cross. Iris is making her way down Red Tower. Flower item is the book. With the glove and the fire source, Desert is potentially completable, and then could turn in the green pendant. Would be entirely dependent if there is a key on the torch. And I believe that Iris did pick up that second sword. Meteorific is getting the wave gate skip. For only 20 rupees.
And Diaz is now doing their fake flippers to the hobo.
Now, because they have Moon Pearl, they will be able to do an additional check if they fake flipper up to Zora, as due to an interesting glitch with the Moon Pearl, when you fake flipper into the waterfall cave, you're still swimming, but when you swim out and swim in again, you'll be in a water walk state. That's due to the game believing that when you exit that cave, you must have the flippers. As long as you have the Moon Pearl.
Green Hills unfortunately only having a 5 rupee.
Iris making their way to Spacer. Or Bombos. May or may not be required, depends if we need to go into Misery Mire or Turtle Rock, and what their medallions are.
And Diaz playing a bit safe with that fireball. Give it a large berth while you're in the fake flipper state to find Screw Attack in the waterfall cave.
And an unfortunate heart piece. Just as much as that glitch is very weird, with that, what if you exit that cave with the Moon Pearl, game puts you into this water walk state. If you pick up a piece of heart that gives you a full heart in that waterfall cave, it puts you back into swimming state.
And Diaz unfortunately also hit and land there, which also puts you back into your normal state.
Iris picks up a nice energy tank pre-crate. And Kachiri.
And Norfair.
That's a very nice find right there.
I believe that was also space jump on the missiles.
And high jump location gives us Varia. That is an absolutely loaded high jump location right there. 3 progression items. I don't think Kachiri knows what to do with himself. I think he's a bit shocked by the mother lode that he found.
It also opens up Bubble Mountain in various ways.
Good grade fight from Iris. Gets a heart container for her trouble.
Kuchiri, unfortunately, out of power bombs.
Oh no.
Which I believe soft locks you in that location.
Yeah. So at this point, he is going to have reset, come out of his ship, refill in power bombs, go back to the Link to the Past. Now he will have the save and quit location from the old man, so it'll be just a quick trip back to Norfair to get those 3 items.
Create energy only containing missiles. The other advantage is when you switch between games, it saves for. So not lost too much progress with that reset.
India is picking up their Master Sword from the moat item. I imagine at this point, since Rex ship is out of logic.
Also looks
no,
like going for CWJ.
CWJ, also known as the continuous wall jump. A little bit tricky to pull out, not in logic for normal mode, but can certainly pay off if there's anything nice in Rex ship. And yes, Ratman are back. You have to beat both Ganon and Mother Brain to complete the seed. You can do that in either order. When you beat Ganon, if you have not defeated Mother Brain, you are put back on top of the pyramid. And then you can continue exploring Link to the Past or take a portal back into Super Metroid. If you beat Mother Brain first without beating Ganon, once you climb the top of the shaft, the escape sequence just ends, the timer stops, and you can continue exploring. The fun thing with that is that for a short while you will continue to have the Hyper Beam while exploring Metroid. Oh, that's right. Sorry, words. I misspoke. There's no timer at all during the escape. Iris finding the ice rod in the ice beam location.
That feels pretty convenient for it.
India's made their CWJ and is on their way to fight Fantoon.
I always find Phantom to be a particularly dangerous fight, especially with no suits to help with your damage protection.
Yes, Moon Pearl was in its vanilla location in the Hera Big Key Chest. Or the Hera Big Chest. I missed what was the item in Crumble Tower. I don't imagine it was anything important. Chiri giving us a map check of the Dark World. Our other crystals, or other pendants, were Skull Woods and Ice. I did not see the 5-6 crystals. And Kuchiri gets bumped by the poems there. Temperate Sword for Iris from the Cathedral item. very well equipped with tempered sword and silvers. They've got all the damage that they'll need for Link to the Past.
And he is running low on missiles using the Doppler to deal with Phantom.
And gets it. Nice job.
And that was also a gravity suit on Iris's screen.
Ooh.
Both suits within Upper Norfair.
And morph ball bombs.
I'm starting to feel Upper Norfair is a bit biased today.
Just a little bit. But looking at that and then looking at items that we absolutely need, by logic, we will absolutely need the charge beam, although you can get around it with enough ammo. And you absolutely need the speed booster in order to defeat Dragon in normal mode. But with Ice Beam, again, you can get around that. No, what am I thinking? This is combo. We can go to the back door of Dragon once we get Dark World access. And flippers. Cherry picking up their Vanilla Moon Pearl, while the speed booster item has a heart container. And I believe Endia has found another energy tank in the wrecked ship. And that's the hook shot for the last item in Bubble Mountain.
It's very, very generous.
And Wave Beam. Was that Vanilla
That's
Wave
Vanilla Wave Beam, yes.
Excuse me, what is with the vanilla items here?
I would ask if this is even randomized, but we seem to have had proof that's randomized before.
Selective randomization. And I see that India's did not check the pre-Fantoon item and has actually 2 spiky hallways of death to have to deal with. And now India is going through the sponge bath. I don't believe they saved immediately before this.
I believe he saved before checking the spike room on the left.
Ah.
Iris looks to be heading towards Crocomire.
Makes sense. Still a little bit low on energy and way too low on ammo to do Lower Norfair at this point. I think ideally what they would like to find is either the hammer or the other glove in order to explore a bit of the Dark World. Just firmly, hopefully put Aghanim out of everybody's minds.
The rest are no fun in that for us.
looks like India's decided to leave ship and went back to Red Tower. Skipping the attic, missiles in the sky, and the vanilla gravity suit location. Maybe hoping to come back there once they have speed so they don't need to abandon additional items, since clearing out the attic does take a considerable length of time.
It's definitely a very unfavored thing to do, to try and leave like one-off spot checks around the world.
Vanilla boots is absolutely possible as long as desert is not boots locked. So we would either need a non-progression item, the compass, or the map on the torch. In practice, desert is boots locked approximately 50% of the time. Iris into the cosine room to get the item here. Pack of missiles. At this point in the seed, ammo is very welcome. It looks like our runners have only found 2 packs of supers and 8 packs of missiles. And then India is deciding not to continue down Red Tower and take care of Kraid, and instead is going for the wall jump up to Gauntlet.
Screw attack making Gauntlet very, very trivial, but the lava still hurts.
4 energy tanks, though, should be more than enough. The big key can't be the torch or the small key. If the small key leads to the big key, then that also would be the case.
Iris looks to have picked up the ice rod. Was that down at the grapple boom location?
The ice rod was in the ice beam location. And a nice pack of supers for Croc Escape. Looks like Iris is going to do her Death Mountain checks. She'll be quite happy when she gets that moon pearl from Hera, but first we'll go rescue the old man.
The saving quit to Death Mountain is extremely useful.
Cheery, after their Kraid fight, is going to do the climb up Red Tower. And yes, Dr. Anamine in chat pointing out that even if the big key is accessible and the small key is on the torch, that would still mean that the green pendant is boots locked. since it's possible that you would steal the key from the back of Desert and use that to check the chests, and therefore you would be unable to fight Lanmo and get the green pendant. Since the logic assumes that you will use your keys in such a way that would make certain things locked, the game doesn't want you to soft lock.
So it looks like Palace of Darkness and Thieves' Town are our two red crystals. Iris doing a quick map check for us.
Well, with Pod being a red crystal, at least that tells us that Hammer will not be at Pyramid Ferry.
Shovel on the Ether tablet.
We are still looking for another glove or a hammer for our Darkhold access. If we are unable to find these in the additional checks, Aghanim will be required, but there's quite a few checks available at this point. That shovel is still available in Link to the Past. And in Super Metroid, I believe that we have most of Lower Norfair and quite a bit of Meridia.
I believe it's only Ridley that's really locked in Lower Norfair, because I think that requires the charger.
And in Meridia, there's quite a few speed-locked locations. With Ice Beam and some clever manipulation of stales, possible to get around them, with the exception of the main street item. Speaking of the speed booster, Meteorific found that in Paradox Cave, using that hookshot that they found in Norfair. Iris with a Tempered Sword will have absolutely no issue taking care of Moldorm.
Should not have to see the speedy stake one more time. Meteorific unfortunately doing the walk of shame around the spiral cave.
And gets a nice pack of supers for the trouble. Looks like Meteorific is heading their way to Kakriko Village to go activate their flute. And Book was in the, I can't remember the name of the item location, but it was in Red Tower. The flower that you jump down into.
I believe it's where you get your first pack of power bombs if you're doing a speedrun.
Iris picking up their speed.
Super Metroid is calling out.
Yeah, I think it's telling these runners to go to Meridia. And with the the front, India has picked up grapple from the front of Gauntlet, which is actually in logic since they have the space jump from Upper North. Oh, X-ray. Sorry. I am getting my item placements confused.
X-ray, however, not very useful on its own. However, if they do manage to find the plasma beam and the charge beam, we may be in for some fried shrimp.
Iris, with her speed booster, saves and quits, resets into Super Metroid, and Neaterific is making their way into Meridia.
Iris choosing to check the surface power bombs.
Neaterific setting up a neat charge to go and check the Main Street location. For an energy tank. Looked like crab missiles was 20 rupees.
And what does Mama Turtle have for us today?
Some missiles and in the wall. Supers.
Some super shells.
Iris doing the nice charge to get into Gauntlet. Except their X-ray.
Kuchiri down to 39 health in the clear surface room. Thankfully the ship is right outside to repair.
Neaterific getting their tempered sword from the beach. I
That's
imagine
all four of our
then at
swords.
this point, yeah, I imagine at this point where, considering where all of our swords are, I imagine that all four of our runners will be getting gold sword. They're all in very accessible locations.
And we also found our silvers very early as well, so it looks like silverless cannon is off the table.
All the firepower that we need. Neaterific in the watering hole finds a pair of missiles. Without charge beam, I'm gonna opt to pick both of those up. India's making their way into Upper Norfair. Gonna check the Croc Escape item first, and then be very happy with the finds in the high jump boots locations. Terrific. Taking their way into the aqueduct and gets blocked by a very rude snail.
Those snails are not playing nice today.
I have to admit that I love the way that the snails sound when you kick them around. It's a very satisfying sound. And some additional supers. Shiri still has Fighter Sword because they opted not to, or rather, they had soft locked themselves in the high jump location and were not able to explore the rest of Upper Norfair, and they have not visited the moat yet. And then our fourth sword, as we saw, was on the beach item, while Nidorufic is checking the sand pits. Well,
Those are the boots.
vanilla boots. The dream is dead. But that green pendant is fully in logic. We could have green pendant hammer. We could have green pendant Titan's mitts. Green pendant charge beam.
Or if you're looking to troll a bit more, you could have one of the 2 remaining medallions on the green pen.
Nidorufic obviously wants to keep those boots and supers going for a green gate glitch to loop around to the other sand pit.
Plenty of super massives to spare. You wouldn't want to take the long way around.
And yes, since Iris has the speed booster, they will be able to check waterway once they grab the charge beam location. Miss Steph is speculating about a chain of fetch quests. Unfortunately, we already know where the shovel is. It was on the ether tablet.
There's a potential to the shovel to lead to the mushroom, perhaps?
It's always better to have shovel to lead to powder first so that you can avoid fake powder shenanigans. And only a bomb capacity upgrade at Waterway. Nidorufic going to Fantoon, which again is technically out of logic since we do not have Charge Beam, and because Batoon has no way for you to refill your ammo, it does require the Charge Beam. Now that Waterway is dead, chat is pinning their hopes on Shack Tool, which still requires a grapple beam to be put into logic. And yes, Serious Cat, this is still an Egg-a-Seed. We are still looking for the other glove or the hammer. And we had access to Aga very early. There was a sword in Mini Moldorm Cave and that both the cape and the lamp were in blue Bryn.
Neaterific, however, does have a slight advantage if they find the flippers, because they can use the Meridia backdoor.
They would have to do a fake flipper. They don't have the flippers yet.
If they find the flippers.
Oh, yes. There is also a possibility of doing a kind of tricky fake flipper from that place and portaling using the Hylia portal to portal to the Dark World Witch. And Neaterific on their way to Dragon. No grapple beam, no microwave strats. We'll probably either doing charge Shine Spark strats or vanilla super missile strats. Iris also able to check the shaft supers. For only a missile. And yes, vanilla hammer is absolutely a possibility. Post-Dragon item is only a missile. Here, getting a little bit of love from Zora.
Kuchiri looks to be diving into desert now. We shall see if it is boots locked or not.
And it's the Bugnet for Neaterific as the Batuni tank. And yes, Neaterific still has the plasma beam location as well as the other sand pit, I believe. We still have most of Lower Norfair as well to check.
The small key looks to be readily available within the Desert Palace.
Their sand pit has missiles and supers, it looked like. Yes. And with Kachiri picking up the map, it is, and I don't believe he had the big key. That means the big key must be on the torch. So if there is anything on the green pendant, it is locked by those boots in the sand pit.
It's another conveniently placed item. The boots are in the sand pit, and desert has sand.
Well, I think we've seen all the waterlocked locations in Meridia. So, unless maybe Plasma has the flippers?
Or, of course, the legendary Shack Tool. Iris finishing off Phantoon very nicely. We should be able to check the rest of Wreck Ship.
I don't believe that Nito has... Well, he could kill the pirates with Shine Sparks, but that's pretty tricky. You, I believe, ideally need Plasma Beam to kill them. But with Space Jump is checking the X-ray location, which I do not believe we have seen yet. And Kuchiri is making the Aghanim play.
I believe X-ray was checked. I don't think it was anything important.
And yeah, it's a bit curious that he's doing Aghanim. Chiri did get the Various suit and did not explore Upper Norfair. Or at very least, he knows where the Various suit is. I unfortunately did not see if he went back to get it after he soft-locked.
I believe he did, yeah. He does have his fluke.
The screw attack was in the Waterfall Fairy chest, which is out of logic, since they fake flippered to get in there.
India's about to pick up his speed booster.
Be quite happy to see that, and then maybe feel good about dipping out of Wreck Ship early. Iris choosing to keep those supers from the energy tank location. And Iris is making her way into the attic, so we'll get some new information from that as well.
It is, of course, very important to open both doors once you're in the attic. Saves you having to kill all the enemies twice in a row.
Ivoli, it is possible to short charge to kill the plasma pirates, but it is quite difficult. Nothing of note in the attic. Iris going to go out and check items in the sky. Just a power bomb pack. while Kachuri is making their way into the Aghanim fight. If Aghanim is required, each runner will get a random Aga pattern, unlike the vanilla Link to the Past randomizer, where the Aga pattern is fixed for all people running the same seed. There is not quite enough space on the ROM in order to assure that for the combo randomizer. So,
Iris also finding half magic outside.
that's a nice pickup as well.
Iris now with the option to take a toilet break.
No, Nidorific has not been to Sahasrala's closet to pick up the ice beam. They will also find the fire rod and magic mirror inside of Eastern. I imagine that they're putting that off until they get the bow. And what is on the pyramid ledge?
It's a bee in a bottle.
Just a bee in a bottle. Only the single arrow behind the bots. And the reserve tank is just an arrow upgrade, so speed booster was not required in Wrecked Ship. I apologize there. And only a missile at gravity suit locations, so nothing in Wrecked Ship. It looks like our progression could be in Pod, or maybe the rest of the Dark Worlds, if it really is Egg-locked, or maybe that other glove is in Lower Norfair.
Kachiri unfortunately not having the hookshot one coming here the first time round.
Yes, so
Their player will be very short.
He'll be locked to whatever's happened in Pod. If Pod is bow locked, that means anything other than a small key in that first chest. That would be the only item he could get, and the other item would be on Catfish. Titansmith could be in Checkerboard Cave. The runners would need to access the mire area through Lower Norfair. That would be very rude. Kachiri does find a small key in that first chest in Pod and continue on their way back. And Diaz is making their way through Meridia. And Iris is checking their x-ray. And Nidorific is on their way to Wreck Ship. Gets their butter sword. And Diaz gets their butter sword from the beach. And yes, vanilla big key in Pod. With the lamp, Kachiri should have no issues getting to the big key chest. Although they will need an additional small key. However, 3 more chests back here they can check. The turtle chest room and the 2 chests in the dark basement. And I believe Iris is on their way to Lower Norfair. Some supers and harmless hellway for Kachiri.
Kachiri choosing to use the small key on that door, though.
I mean, for all he knows, it's the bow.
Thankfully, there was another small key in the basement.
And a nice bottle of Blue Boo, which is interesting finding that in Pod. He does have the option at this point to decide to sequence break the Bowlock side using the Pod Potion glitch. However, knowing that he's going to have to come back here with the bow at some point, I don't know if he'll go for that. The bow, however, could be in either any of these 3 Dark Maze chests. There's the hammer.
It was almost vanilla. It was so close, yet it denied us.
Almost so very French vanilla. Maybe even fake French vanilla. And 20 rupees, but that's nice. Now Kachiri has Dark World access. And Iris is indeed making their way into Lower Norfair for the best music in the game. And it looks like Diaz is going to do the snail clip to Shaktul. Or not snail clip, sorry. I can't quite remember what these little things are called. But it is an ice clip to Shaktul. Gets it almost first time.
Easily. Iris is heading towards her golden chorizo to see what the missile pack, I believe that.
And then Kachiri giving us our first look at Hype Cave. Do you have any predictions here?
Maybe the second glove, perhaps.
$20 from the NPC. Another $20. Piece of heart. $20. And measles. Iris found a fairy in a bottle at the Showcase Showdown and some missiles above Golden Chorizo.
Shaktil unfortunately only having 3 bombs.
Shaq is dead, Hype Cave is dead, and now the Golden Chorizo is dead.
Is it too much to ask for a pedestal seed?
Well, let's see at this point. Bow could be on pedestal. I believe Titan's Mitts could be on pedestal. Charge Beam could be on pedestal. The Bombos... no, we have the Bombos Medallion from Ire. And there were flips at the Screw Attack location. Kachiri giving us a ped check. Big Bada Boom, which is just power bombs.
Unfortunately, nothing too truly this seed by the looks of things.
Nope. But As of right now, AGA is required for Dark World access, or using those flippers that Iris found in Lower Norfair, you can use the Meridia portal as well. Iris choosing to go into Misery Mire makes sense. She has everything that she needs to complete it, and it is a crystal. While Kuchiri is making their way through Skullwoods. Just a reminder to give these runners a follow. They are racing the seed for their enjoyment and also your entertainment. I'll put their links in chat. We do run community races every Sunday and afternoon and Monday evening, alternating between hard and normal logic.
NDS was definitely doing something very bizarre. It looked like he was stuck in a shine spark over the pit with the bugs coming out.
I believe that happens sometimes if you sink into the sand while your speed booster runs out. I think I've seen that before. Yes, Iris found one item in the front of Mire, the bomb upgrade, and looks like she's rushing Vitreous, hoping that Vitreous has the other item, saves her a trip over to the Firelock side. Iris using cape strats on Vitreous with Tempered Sword. This is really easy, half magic, and the Vitreous has a fun, or anytime you're using the cape, it has a fun effect. If you spam your sword spins, it causes the magic meter to go down slower. Anyway, easy kill from the eyeball, picks up a key, and we are looking for another item in Mire.
Kuchiri choosing to use the bee on Morphula.
I love bee strats. I can just dance around, avoid the spikes. Unfortunately, the bee runs out of steam. Moths versus bees, man.
And Kuchiri's still on the Master Sword, so still going to have a bit of difficulty with damage from this. Does have plenty of health potions though.
Hammer strats are an option against the moth, but if you're not 100% familiar with the hitbox, a little bit tricky. But he gets it down, gets a big key. And the blue pendant.
Mocula, I find to be one of the harder fights of Link to the Past, as the spikes don't have damage negation depending on whatever tunic you put.
Iris still searching for that second item in Myers. Going to go down to the cutscene chest. While Kachiri is going to check the big chest in Skullwoods. And Diaz doing their sandpit checks. Kachiri, unfortunately, still not having that hook shock from Upper Norfair, opts to save and quit out of Skullwoods. And second item in Mire is just a pack of missiles.
It's definitely nice to get it out of the way, though, especially because you don't know how long this Titan's Mit's going to be hiding for.
Yeah, there's still a lot of locations for these. Looks like Iris will give us some additional checks in Lower Norfair, and Kachiri is making their way back into the Dark World. Going to get Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town checks out of the way.
And our plasma check from NDS only returns the red boomerang.
So that is not our answer. We did see Checkerboard Cave check. It was just arrows. With Space Jump, worst
There's
room
our
in the
bow.
game. Bow is nice. That means that is likely a required double dip pod.
You could choose to forsake it if you picked up the hookshot earlier.
Iris gets through worst room in the game and picks up the powder from Mickey Mouse. And Diaz, it looks like they're going to set up the fake flipper using the Dark World setup spot here. And it looks like someone picked up Charge Beam? We are still looking for Titan's Mitts. And Endias is going to go into pod. Will eventually get their hammer. Just a heart container in cave 45. Endias was looking like they were going to set up the bottle glitch. And they get it, which is a fun trick that makes use of how Link to the Past sets up their super tiles, and the fact that the game considers enemies defeated if their sprites are no longer in the camera screen. Cheery making their way to Catfish, opting for skull strats rather than flower strats. Or missiles. Iris doing some farming before Ridley. You need 30 super missiles to defeat Ridley with only supers. Does take double damage from them. And with Kachiri having the bow, going to finish off Palace of Darkness.
And then they use the best use of the mirror to just mirror out and go to Eastern Palace.
Yes, it's very nice to combo those checks. Iris setting up their Ridley fight, trying to get Ridley into the pogo pattern, which is the most effective way to throw super missiles at his screaming face. I was just waiting to get grabbed. And Ridley is down for Iris.
A nice clean fight from Iris.
And there is our
guarding the
Titan's.
mitt.
There is our Titan's mitts. Now that does mean that Aga was not required, since you could get the Titan's mitts and the flippers from Lower Norfair, and then use the Kakariko Village portal and swim over to Pod to get your hammer. But it is a little bit out of the way. However, the advantage with that is that you'd likely pick up the bow in Village of Outcasts and then be able to avoid the double dip pod.
So I believe our main question now is, what's the medallion for Turtle Rock?
Yes. If we have double bombos, then we are in no mode. However, if it is Ether or Quake, we'll have to search those out because none of our runners have come across those ones.
And unfortunately, they could be anywhere.
Oh, that is a good point from Evioli in chat, that Ridley is out of logic without charge. And charge was in C-shaped house, so that does mean that Aga was logically required. And no, ammo does not put Ridley into logic. Ridley always requires the charge beam, even in hard mode.
Kachiri taking down Helmasaur King with silver. Iris needs to be careful, however.
Oh no! Key Hunter's got her. That is an unfortunate death. She will have... I don't know if she saved in Lower Norfair. Oh no.
Iris is back at the ship. That's a very painful loss.
That feels like she probably did not save after completing Mire. So she went into Mire, then went back into the Lower Norfair portal. So she has lost the Titan's mitts at this point. However, Nidorufic finished off their Ridley fight. It's making their way out of Lower Norfair. And Kachiri, after finishing off Helmasaur, going back and going to take on the Armos Knights. And yes, suppose it would be possible to avoid Aga, but you would have had to double dip Lower Norfair, because the sequence would have been get flippers from Screw Attack, then use the Meridia portal and swim to Pod to get your hammer, and then go back to Lower Norfair hammer, then go to Village of Outcast, get your charge, then go back and defeat Ridley with charge to get your Titan's Mitts. All in all, I think either doing the sequence break or doing the Aga is probably the better call. The sequence break being fighting Ridley without charge. When you generate a ROM on your own for this combo randomizer, it does come through with a playthrough section as to how the logic intended you to complete it. It's not often the most intuitive way or the most efficient way, but it does follow the logic exactly.
Neither choosing to play it safe with the first couple of key hunters, but it's starting to get dangerously low in health.
Oh no. I think he's safe now. But 71 energy is not a fun place to be.
They do have some in reserves, but I'm not sure how much.
Yeah, I really don't know what is the better way at this point. There's been discussion about trying to do a spoiler log tournament for this combo randomizer, where the players are given a spoiler log without the playthrough section that gives all of the item locations, and they're given a certain length of time to route their ideal path through the seed. This seed would have been interesting. How you would route it if you had known ahead of time what all the item requirements are. I think everyone would at that point probably just farm up ammo and avoid Aga, but maybe with where the rest of the ammo is, that's not reasonable either.
Definitely anyone comfortable playing low percent on Super Metroid would have had an advantage on that one.
Terrific, showing us a new check in King's Tomb, which was just missiles. Terrific, also using those boots to get some missiles. And yeah, it's entirely possible now that Iris knows there's nothing of value in the Lower Norfair escaped. After killing Ridley, she may just go out the other way and take the Mire portal. I'm not sure which way is safer.
I believe Iris has enough health to go backwards through the amphitheater.
Kachiri on their way to East Death Mountain to get the item out of Spiral Cave, and then more importantly, their speed booster out of Paradox. Dia is going to do a quick check of Lumberjack Ledge because they didn't do that earlier. Nidovific picks up their screw attack. Coming up to 2 hours. Right now, the only item we are 100%... Actually, no, we have every item that we know that we need. The only items that we don't know if we need are the Ether or Quake Medallion. If either of those are required for Turtle Rock, we will have to find those. Nidovific doing their Dark World check. Now, they had never picked up the Moon Pearl from Hera. So they are going into the Mire area as a bunny. Oh, that's right, because they never picked up the mirror from Eastern. Now, if Nidovific goes and takes care of Village of Outcasts, they will get their bow and be able to avoid the double dip of both Eastern and Pod. But there's no real ideal way to do it because, well, the mirror is in Eastern, and the most ideal routing is to mirror after you've completed Pod.
They need either the mirror or the hammer to scale to the Tower of Hera, so they will have to double dip one or the other.
Iris determined not to take any extra damage that she needs to from those key hunters. And yes, I agree 100%. This has been a bit of a convoluted seed. Normal mode does not necessarily mean easy mode. Diaz grabs their bow. Ooh. Iris making their way through Amphitheater. And does not look like they're going back for the powder. And yes, hopefully nothing is on the magic powder item. Getting some new information from NDS as they go through Thieves Town. And Nidovific is on their way to kill Green Pendant Lanmo. Oh, and Diaz gets the God Pixel through the Hellway in Thieves Town. And Iris is out of Lower Norfair. Just the bloomerang on Lanmo, but also gets the green pendant. Now this will be nice for Nidarific, because it'll take them over to Sahasrahla. They'll get their ice beam from the back, and hopefully they dip into Eastern and grab their mirror. And no, Iris did skip grabbing the powder when she was making her way out of Lower Norfair. And we have the grapple beam from Sahasrahla. We've already seen a Shack tool check, nothing there. Green pendant is worthless. And yeah, Nidarific skipping the back of Sahasrahla will not get their ice beam. That's unfortunate. But Iris is giving us our first Dark Death Mountain check, and soon we will see what the required medallion is for Turtle Rock. India is giving us a blind fight, staying nicely on script. Our first shield in Super Bunny Cave. And Diaz gets their second crystal at 158. ₹50 in Hookshot Cave. Some more power bombs. Some more missiles. And ₹300.
This has definitely been a very rich seed.
Yeah, you know, 2 of our runners did early Houlihan to get early money, but we found all 3 of the 400 rupee locations, and Turtle Rock is in Bombos, so we are in no mode. So at this point, for all of our runners, and Diaz presumably picked up the bow and charge beam from Village of Outcasts. They'll need to get their Titan's mitts and logically flippers from Lower Norfair. Chiri needs to go back to Upper Norfair, get their gravity suit and their hook shot, then the boots from Meridia, and flippers and Titan's mitts from Lower Norfair. Iris activating their flute. They just need to get their bow from Village of Outcasts, logically charge beam from Village of Outcasts, and hammer from Pod. Nidarific looks like they are finally on their way up to Hera, get their Moon Pearl, then they will likely get their bow from Village of Outcasts, charge beam from Village of Outcasts, and hammer from Pod. And Ice Palace is the red pendant.
Iris, luckily having both mitts, would bring her into the dark world and thieves, so she'll get her bow pretty soon. Hopefully that pulls her in the direction of Palace of Darkness and Eastern.
I imagine that she'll clear out Thieves Town at the moment. That's a nice, easy, clear. Pick up her charge beam, do dig game, maybe do Smith's chain. Oh no, well, she could. She could think that the hammer is in the Smith's chain, but yeah, as soon as she goes to Palace of Darkness, she'll know what's up. Nothing else was locked behind the boots that were in Meridia, but they're certainly nice to have. Yes, Nidorific was not happy with that Moon Pearl.
Neither of you taking advantage of obtaining the Moon Pearl up here and going straight to Dark Death Mid.
Got the necessary information that they need, that they have the medallion for Turtle Rock. Fortunately, without the hammer, is not able to enter it. And Iris needs to be careful on their way through Thieves Town. I think she was doing a quick check to see if she had any safeties, but I don't think so, since she lost the bottle that she had picked up from the Showcase Showdown. Ah, she must have forgot that when she died on her way out of Lower Norfair that it reset the powder from Mickey Mouse, and that's why she skipped it on her way back out the second time, since she thought she already had it. Something that we can
Very lucky
ask
with the
her
heart
later.
drops though.
Yeah, that isn't too bad. You can always get at least 2 heart drops on your way in there. The 2 skulls always have them. And it looks like she's setting up to do Samaria strats for blind.
Blind
Samaria
Uncle's a
strat.
boss that is not affected by whatever shard you have. It always takes the same damage.
Always 9 hits with whatever weapon you choose, be it hammer, Samaria, Burna, or swords. Oh, she's got to be careful. Yeah, switching to Berna. Gets that last hit in. Berna's my favorite way to handle blind. I don't mind lag.
I much prefer the cape.
Iris gets their third crystal, while Diaz gets their fourth. And here's Charge Beam for Iris. With Diaz fluting to 4, I wonder if they are thinking that this might be a Swamp Palace play.
It's not exactly the wrong move. They do have the ability to clear it.
It is. It is unfortunately a... Well, it is a crystal, so... But it can be quite slow if you're not in go mode. Oh, that's right. He doesn't have the flippers, so this is just a Bombos tablet check. Another good point that he has not been to Agana to get his silvers. I can only imagine at this point that they're avoiding he's avoiding Lord Orfair in order to go mode it, just take out Ridley and then get out, and then immediately afterwards take care of Meyer, do checkerboard, Agana. But we are going to get a Pyramid Fury check. And yes, Iris is only needing the hammer. She'll find that as soon as she goes into pod and checks out the Dark Maze. Boots are not required. There was no items of consequence either in Desert or on the Green Pendant, and there is nothing in Bonk Rocks or King's Tomb. But there is that 1 in 22 chance that Ganon's Tower Big Key is on the torch. Boots were in the Meridia Sandpits. And we get the last 300 rupee drop in Pyramid Fairy. Come on, Diaz. Go to Lower Norfair. You know you want to. Say hi to Ridley. Stumpy gives Iris her red mail. Niterific set up the spooky action at a distance glitch in Mire, which is a really fun glitch in Link to the Past that uses some interesting manipulation of the altitude variables and causes the fire rod to hit higher, in quotation marks, than it's supposed to. Iris will need to go to Meridia, but at this point there's nothing for progression for her in there, unless, of course, those boots are required. And if they're not required, she might just choose to do Dragon immediately after Ganon. It's really quick to use the Meridia portal immediately after defeating Ganon. Hop off the pyramid, flip her over. Nidorific takes out their Vitreous, and Endiaz was in Spike Cave.
I think Endiaz is finally taking the time to go to Norfair.
Yep. He will be very happy with what he finds in there.
Kajiri picking up their X-ray scope.
And they had checked the back of Gauntlet earlier, so just going out the front door.
I do wonder where Charge Beam is, however.
Charge Beam was in C-shaped house in Village of Outcasts.
Sorry, not Charge Beam, Plasma Beam.
Oh, yes. Well, Plasma Beam isn't progression, so it could be in Ganon's Tower. Could be in Pendant Ice Palace. Or maybe in Turtle Rock.
Iris looks to be using the Meridia backdoor.
No, she is going to take the portal over near the Dark Witch's Hut and use that to get to Pod a bit more quickly. Check Catfish on the way. Shuri taking care of all the Rinstar checks that they had to leave behind. Looks like they're going to go and check Shaft Supers. Really just needs to go back to Norfair. I hope they didn't forget that he has Varia.
Iris picking up her screw attack.
Just before Nidorific dives into Pendant Skull Woods, getting their confirmation that there is nothing on the pyramid. Pedestal, sorry. And N. Diaz gets their flippers. Skipping the portal... Oh, nope, changed their mind. They were going to skip the portal to Mire. Chiri having some issues with the Shaft Supers. I bet he's thinking that if only I had Wave Beam. This would be so much easier. Well, you could have Wave Beam, you just have to go back to Norfair.
They are missing out on the small treasure trove that was Norfair.
Only the charge beam is progression in normal mode, unless there is an item at Plasma Pirates, at which point Plasma Beam would also be progression. However, most runners are fine without any beam combinations. And yes, as Miss Metroider Trackers pointed out in normal logic, also Wave Beam if there's anything at Wave Gate. But generally, most runners who are playing this don't have any particular issues getting around the beam requirements.
I would need to get another look at Neorific's power bomb amount, because they're the only one who haven't picked up ice. Because those Metroids in Turian take 5 to kill, or at least 5 hits.
If you're familiar with grouping the Metroids, you can group them and fire 3 all at once, or rather 3 power bombs at a time to kill them all. Ice Beam can sometimes be required in hard logic in order to do the ice clip into Batoon. And I believe in some cases in order to climb Red Tower. Okay, Kachiri looks like they are on their way over to wreck ship. Gravity was just off of Bubble Mountain.
Perhaps they are hoping for a vanilla gravity.
Iris having no problem with Dragon. Takes her down easily. At least Nidourific will get their charge beam from C-shaped house, even if they're skipping the ice beam Sahara Shell's closet. And N Diaz getting their silver arrows. Yeah, I'm not sure if maybe Kachiri forgot to unmark Varia when they got soft locked. He might be thinking that he needs to find Varia. Yeah, even if you forgot that he had Varia, the sprite color should give it away. Get that lovely orange rather than the yellow from just the power suit. Both Nidorific and Iris just need to make their way into Pod to get a French vanilla hammer from the Dark Maze, and they'll be in go mode. Both of them have completed all 4 Super Metroid bosses. However, Iris does have 1 additional crystal from Thieves Town, although Nidorific is about to get it shortly. And yes, NDS still has not gone back to Dark Cross to get their Cane of Samaria. They had an interesting route earlier where he did the front of Escape, got his blue mail, and then used a glove to go to the back of Escape. And even though he had both the extra key and a lamp, did not go forward to grab that Cane of Samaria. When Ian and Diaz grabbed their silver arrows, they must have lost their mirror portal, or having to go back to Lower Nerfer the long way. And Iris is clearing out Meridia, looking for that hammer. It's one of those instances where oftentimes vanilla item location is the worst possible place for something. And really, Pod with vanilla hammer is really, really terrible.
Thankfully, most of their Link to the Past are locked behind the hammer. With their other required dungeon being Swamp Palace, you can only really check the first chest.
Yep, although there has been instances where hammer has been in that chest. And yes, Iris does that lovely shine spark when you get caught in the sand. It's a nice way to farm up. In order to determine who's winning a randomizer, you kind of have to look at how many crystals people have done and who gets in go mode first. It's a little hard to tell, especially if somebody last locations an item or forgets an item. I would say that right now, probably Nidorific and Iris are leading, but if they never go into Pod to get that hammer, they might be searching for a while. Meteorific getting 20 rupees off the magic bat, so Iris won't be missing out on anything like that.
The problem about leaving a fetch quest item behind, however, is it's always on the back of your mind. Could the hammer be there?
Especially something as useful as powder. Meteorific going back to Village of Outcast, gonna grab their purple chest and do the long walk. Then we'll see what they opt for. They've already cleared out Meridia, so it's possible that Meteorific will dive into Swamp after turning in the purple chest and checking Bombo's tablet, and checking that one chest. Other than that, their only other options will be to clear out Pod or to go into Pendant Ice Palace.
Won't be able to do too much of Ice Palace, as there is a couple of checks locked behind the hammer.
Really depends entirely on the key layout. If they get a early key, they can go into the right-hand side and do the spike room. If they get the big key, they can check both the Freezor room and the big chest, as well as Iced Tea. Iris grabs their butter sword.
Iris a little low on HP, but thankfully Meridia enemies do not hurt that much as the key hunters in Lower Norfolk.
Yep, and there's a lot of nice places to farm in Meridia. Meteorific getting their Disappointment Cave.
And yes, choosing to search all of Mire before going to Virtuous.
Cherry picks up their half magic from mid-ocean. And I believe Iris picked up the boots from the sand pit, but she might have reset out of them. We will see shortly when she transitions back into Link to the Past. ND is opting not to complete Mire. That's an interesting call.
NDS doesn't have his red cane yet, that's why he's chosen.
Right. He needs to go to Dark Cross.
Iris demonstrating her boots.
Okay, so she's going to finish off Desert, turn in the green pendant, finish off Eastern, and then hopefully go into pod. That would be the ideal routing. The worst routing would be finish off desert, turning green pendant, and then do ice palace, hoping to combo pod and eastern.
Neaterific doing us the favor of checking that one chest in swamp.
Yep, the first chest is the small key, but there is one more chest behind the bombable wall that could theoretically have the hammer, even though we know it does not. Neaterific pulling out the hammer, not holding out high hopes for this. People change games based on 4 portals in the game. There is a portal by Link's house, by Lake Hylia, that takes you to Brinstar. There's a portal in the Dark Ice Rod Lave location that takes you to the back end of Meridia. There's a portal in the right Mire Shed that takes you to Lower Norfair, and it looks like Neaterific is actually on their way to the Meridia portal right now. And the last portal is on Death Mountain, behind the old man, that takes you to Upper Norfair.
Neaterific looking for every excuse not to go into pod just now without the hammer.
I think that he's on his way back to Plasma Beam. I don't think that he left anything else unchecked here in Meridia. Yes, thank you, Blue Lionel. I misspoke. The portal at the Lake Hylia Fortune Teller goes to Criteria, not Brinstar. Everyone missing a very critical item at this point. And Diaz, as soon as they defeat Ridley, will get their Titan's Mitts, but needs to go back to Dark Cross for their cane. Kuchiri is avoiding Norfair entirely and needs to go there for their gravity suit, their hook shot, and then go down to Lower Norfair for their flippers and Titan's Mitts. Iris needs to go to pod for the hammer, and Neaterific also needs to go to pod for the hammer. Neaterific doing their Shack Tool check. Shack Tool does not have the goods today. And I think Iris might be doing Skullwoods. No? I was fairly certain that she already did a ped check, but oh, I see. She has to do the boots locations. And Diaz finished off their Ridley kill, got their Titan's Mitts. Not sure why Kuchiri is going to check Waterway. Yes. Yes, all of the items are randomized. There's no minor or major variation like there is in the Super Metroid randomizer. But of course, there is a logic to it. So, for instance, we're on normal Super Metroid logic, so there's no hell dives required. There's no difficult wall jumps, and some of the other, unique tricks like mock balling or ice climbing. Terrific seeing that boomerang at Plasma. And yes, the logic is quite robust. That you can't soft your lock yourself or get stuck. Logically. All seeds are beatable.
Iris taking a little bit of frustration on Shahashalo there for the grappling hook. Definitely not what they were looking for.
Nope. And it looks like they are going to go and finish off Eastern. There's no item on Armos, but she just probably wants to get the crystal out of the way. Okay. Looks like Kachiri is on their way to the Norfair portal. This is the play that he needed to make. He is going to get his ice rod from the ice beam location in a moment. And yes, the hammer is in the pod dark maze. Chiri was in Norfair earlier, had grabbed their various suit from the near the high jump boots location. I believe the high jump missiles.
I believe it was the high jump themselves that
it was the actual high jump location?
Space
Unfortunately,
jump was outside of the missiles.
Right, and the flute was
it was the energy tank outside.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Kachiri ran out of power bombs and was not able to escape and had to reset. Did go back for their Varia, but then never explored Norfair.
Iris able to make quick use of Armos with those silver arrows.
Chiri fell down Crumble Tower, trying to climb their way back up. You have space jump, Kachiri. You can do it. I believe in you. And oh no, Iris is fluting away. And I believe she is going to dip inside Ice Palace. There's nothing particularly at the top of Crumble Tower. He just wants to get up there rather than doing the croc loop. Oh, I didn't see that he didn't see the item. Depends on how familiar, length of time depends on how familiar you are with the games. I would say that your first run on the randomizer will take many hours, probably 6 to 8. Skilled runners take maybe about 3 to 3.5. The world record for a single-player combo randomizer run is, I believe, 2 hours and 18 minutes. Oh, 2:11 now. That's incredibly fast, since that's faster than doing both vanilla games and MG. But yeah, usually the community races are about 3.5, 4 hours. And Diaz giving us a new look at hammer pegs. He's hoping his Samari is there, but it's just missiles.
Unfortunately, Darkcross is probably one of the furthest places that I'd imagine you'd check.
And it's a little bit unusual with how he did his routing of the escape. It's very much an orphaned item location at this point. And yes, chat mentioning the new multi-world, which is in a closed alpha stage. A couple of people are beta testing it, including some well-known runners of the randomizer. If you've never seen a multi-world, it's a very cool mode where your items are randomized into other people's worlds. So for instance, if you're playing with 5 other people, your Paradox Cave might have 5 morph balls in it. Can be a little bit interesting if you're stuck while everybody else has progression. But it's a lot of fun to play with friends, and I'm looking forward to when it goes into open beta. I believe one of the developers of this randomizer total was doing a demonstration of co-op multi-worlds on his stream earlier today. Might still be doing it. You can see development about the multi-world in the SMZ3 Discord. Iris realizing her hammer is not in Ice Palace. Oh, but is going back to the freezer room. Yep, there's been a lot of testing on multi-world this past week, working out all the bugs about items disappearing, or hearts not getting sent, or logic bugs.
Nidorific taking some frustration dashes at the chest with containing their hammer.
But with that hammer, Nidorific is now in go mode. With all 4 Super Metroid bosses done, they just have to go kill Hamasaur, Mirror, kill Armos Knights, go take care of Argus and Swamp and Turtle Rock. Of those, probably Turtle Rock is the longest, since even in go mode, you don't save a lot of time unless you get very ideal key placement. And yes, everybody loves to go mode Swamp.
Yeah, Swamp being a particularly slow dungeon, but it's entirely due to that left-hand side.
Iris using bomb strats on the Pengators. That always feels nice. And I think Kuchiri is skipping. Oh no, there he goes. He's going to Bubble Mountain. Sees his hook shot. Is probably kicking himself a little bit. Nidourific having no issues taking down Helmasaur, Buttersword, Hammer, Silvers. And Iris learns that no, your hammer is not in this palace. Looted a 5 to try to hammer into Pod. Realize, oh no, I don't have the hammer. Have to take the long way around. I had misspoke earlier. There's actually only one runner off restream, which is Eleanor Lamb. And Diaz back into Wreck Ship. Thinking maybe my cane is in here. Did I leave my cane behind? Cheery probably kicking himself a little bit more. He gets that gravity suit. A few power bombs to get the shaft to help you into the room. And Iris is into Skull Woods.
Makes sense. You're over here to go into the Dark Worlds as they don't have the hammer. Figured why not check it while we're here?
Nidourific having no issues with Armos. Quick flute to 4 to go into Swamp. And yeah, the jump that Sherry trying to do without high jump boots is a little tricky. Now I believe Nidourific was the one who dipped Swamp earlier and got that first chest. Unfortunately, the dam does not stay flooded. But he won't have to kill the water skimmers for his keep. And no, high jump boots are hidden at some point. I don't believe that they're ever required for progression, so they could be in Ganon's tower.
Lots of places that the high jump boots lock can be obtained on various other methods.
And Diaz missed the cane in Dark Cross. They did front of escape, then they did the 3 chests in the back of escape, and never went to Dark Cross. Katuri picked up their tempered sword and will be on their way to Lower Norfair. With Better Sword, Nidorufic will have absolutely no issue against Argus. I don't know if they know the dash strats, but it's a fun way to kill Argus, where you keep dashing with your sword held out and you can poke the eye puffs. It's very quick, but really any way to kill Argus with Butter Sword is quick.
Choosing not to use silver arrows on Argus, but 2 spin slashes do work just as quick.
Gets crystal number 6. And I think Iris is finally on her way to Pod. I think she has actually exhausted all of their possible locations. Although she still had Shaktul.
I still believe Pod to be the quicker check than Shaktul.
Nidorufic is in go mode. Iris will be as soon as she picks up her hammer from the Dark Maze and Pod. And Diaz has abandoned or orphaned their red cane in Dark Cross. Kachiri needs to pick up their flippers from the screw attack location and Titan mitts off Ridley. And I've never seen that visual glitch that Kachiri is showing on the Golden Chorizo.
Jerry needing to be a little bit careful of his health.
Oh no. Oh, he has reserves. He's fine.
So I believe the reason for firing off the missiles there is if you're under 32 missiles, Golden Chorizo cannot use his Crescent Slash ability.
And oh no, he takes a death. And Kachiri has forfeited from the race.
Hello.
Hi, Kachiri.
That was
That was a seed.
I felt like because of my inexperience with Super Metroid, I was riding it better because I was finding so many good items in Link to the Past because I was just staying Link to the Past, but...
Yeah, it was an unfortunate seed. You were the first one to do Aga and get Dark World access. First one with the hammer. That French vanilla hammer was not an ideal location. Iris is just about on her way to go pick that up.
Yeah, I don't know why, but my IRC chat wants to show up on the stream. Like, I tried doing that before the race started. I just realized going to G5. Yeah, no, I felt like I was running it good just because, you know, I did basically realize that, hey, I need to go get Aga, because I remember back in December, whenever the tournament was going on, I always said, you know, 80% of these seeds are Aga seeds. So if you see all the signs for Aga, why not just go ahead and waste the 5 minutes to do it, right? So that's why I bowed out of Norfair. Not Norfair, but Brinstar, because I remember I went into Brinstar and I was like, I have no power bombs. There's nothing here for me with this few power bombs, and that's another thing. I didn't want to go through Super Metroid with no power bombs. Where were the mitts?
The mitts were behind Ridley.
I assumed that I was going to go do Meyer then Ridley.
The seed was set up that your Dark World access was either Aga or required Lower Norfair double dip.
You see, what I was trying to do, the reason why I went left down there to say hi to Gold Shojio was I was going to go do Meyer, do everything around Meyer, then go back to do Ridley. And then I think... Oh, thanks, Anthony. I think that would have been my go mode aside from flippers. What were flippers?
Flippers for screw attack.
See, that would have been my go mode right there. Because I would have went to go Terzia, I would have got to my flippers. I would have gone to Meyer, then gone back to Ridley, then I would have been on the... No. Iris is now in gun mode.
Yeah, she found her hammer in pod, let out a rage bombos, and is on her way to clear out everything.
I am now...
Diaz
I'm
is
actually
looking for
now...
his cane.
I'm now kind of annoyed that I was that close to go mode now.
It was a very rude seed. I guess it wasn't so much a required double dip of Lower Norfair, but logically required, since you would need to have gotten the flippers to go and logically go get your... Go through Meridia, take that portal, get the hammer from Turtle Rock, go get Charge Beam from Village of Outcasts, then go beat Ridley with that Charge Beam to get your Titan's Mitts.
Oh man, I'm kicking myself. I was literally like 10 minutes away from go mode.
Yeah.
I fell so far behind because I kept on messing up my Super Metroid stuff. I had that one whole room where I kept on falling to literally every single red plant. I don't know how I did that.
Crumble Tower has its name for a reason.
Well, that one, then whenever I was going up, because I didn't want to go through Brinstar, I was trying to go the routes without using power bombs. And so the one room with all the red plants, I literally fell in every single plant trying to get through it. Yeah. No, I basically, after a while, I was like, yeah, no. Like, it has to be Aga. This had to be an Aga seed. If not, I'm not in a good spot right now.
Well, it was one of those things where you got the Aga care package in blue Bryn with the cape and the lamp.
No,
although you didn't see that. You got your second sword from the mode item.
Because I don't know how Route Super Metroid wrote well. I have probably put up most of my lifetime 7 hours into Super Metroid. And I'm counting the times I played combo.
Well, with that, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. Nidarific has defeated Trinex and are getting their 7th crystal. And so it gets ether for their trouble, so it's a good thing that wasn't required anywhere. And we don't play the official game for the weeklies, but if chat would like to get their guesses for their big key, where it is in Ganon's Tower, put your guesses in chat. I always like number 15, which is the vanilla location. Thoris, do you have a particular guess that you like?
I like to go with number 7.
7's good. But 7 hours, you play a lot better than 7 hours of experience would belay. So congratulations, you're the jump into the speed location is a little bit tricky when you don't have high jump boots.
Yeah, I felt like I spent too long there, and then that got me nothing, and then that was my whole plan too. It was Meyer Ridley, then that would have been my go mode since I did Meyer then Ridley. Then I could have done Swamp Palace Terror. This could have been a sub 4 seed for me. Okay, sorry, I'm just going to kick myself for the rest of the day.
So speaking of kicking yourself, we were wondering when you were going to go back to Upper Norfair since you got that Varia very early. You were the first person who got the Varia, the flute, and the space jump.
Space jump.
Yeah, no. Again, my whole philosophy with my run today was I have not enough ammo for Super Metroid. Let's do what I'm more comfortable with, Link to the Past. And just, that was like my thing. I was going to go ahead, like when I saw the hookshot there, it was like, oh crap, I'm going to start seeing 3 duns on the ice chat. I was like, oh, with this location with the hookshot, it has to. No, there's a lot of forfeit regret. Oh man. And then I got Spore Spawn skip first try.
Oh, was that the first time you ever got it first try?
No, well, first time I ever got it first try. The very second time I've ever gotten it.
Well, congratulations. That's pretty good.
I did a weekly not too long ago where the very first time I even attempted it, the second super missile hit.
Nidarific found plasma in the Stealthos room in Ganon's Tower, and then was doing Darker Magician, save and quit, finds Spring Ball in the Compass room, some extra power bombs, and the Mirror Shield.
No.
But yeah, Norfair was loaded.
Yeah,
I was saying earlier that there was discussion about doing spoiler seeds for SMZ3, and I think this would have been a really interesting seed to try to route, knowing all the item locations.
Oh yeah. I mean, most of it, as you said, was in Norfair. Brinstar was dead. And I should have known Brinstar was dead whenever I found Hammer in Palace of Darkness, because, I've commentated 30, 40 of these seeds, so, I kind of learned, like, how the logic kind of does stuff. So, like, I had to, like, I was in my head, like, okay, why am I checking places everyone else would have checked before they would have went to Aga? Because I had to assume I was the first one that did Aga, because I'm the only one that thinks that's a good strategy.
And it really was, I think absolutely that doing Aga is a better strategy than, doing the double dip lower Norfair without charge beam.
Yeah. And so, I literally spent 20 minutes going through Brinstar like, I should not be here right now. I should not be, why am I doing all this stuff?
Oh, and the big key was in test location number 13. The Fire Snake room with his roading.
Alright. Well, thank you for having me today, guys. I'm sorry I forfeited.
That's okay. Well, thank you for running. And you know what? You did better than you thought you did, right?
Oh yeah, no. And now that I now know where those 2 ions were, and I knew, like, I was, like, 10 minutes away from go mode, I am going to have that regret now for the rest of the day.
Well, GG once again. Thanks for joining us, Kachiri.
Yeah, and good luck for the rest of your cast. And hey, I mean, I'm happy you're now casting. So
There you go.
yep, worst
All right,
spoken has me right. So anyway, I'm going to hop out. See ya.
All right, take care. India's is now making their way through Ice Palace, looking for their cane. And Iris finished off Swamp, gonna go take care of Turtle Rock. And Nitorific is making their way up the gauntlet. Silvers and Buttersword, no issues with that. No issues for Nitorific in the gauntlet, on their way to Lanmolas 2.
This time with silver arrows.
Easy every time. Then on to the two most satisfying rooms, the Wizrobe rooms. One just a single.
Yeah, this is probably like my most enjoyable strategy.
And then the second room, a Samaria and a single slash. And the boots were in a Meridia Sandpit. And Endia's getting the bad news that no, your cane is not in this palace.
However, the direction they're heading is definitely a good one.
I think they might have realized that what item they left behind. And yep, they're going straight to the back. Meanwhile, Nitorific has completed their tower climb. Just has Moldworm 2. With Buttersword, no problems. Skipping their last possession, just has the mini Helmasaur bumper room. And then they're on their way to the Agonometry fight, while Endia's picked up their cane, you know, relatively calmly. Don't need any rage slashes, rage combos, rage quake. Time to go take care of Misery Mire.
It'll be just a quick finish off of Misery Mire and then straight to Turtle Rock for them. All in all, they're not actually too far behind.
Yep. Nitorific took care of Aghanim nice and easy and is on their way to the Ganon fight for the big pig. What words of wisdom does Ganon speak to us today? It really is deja vu all over again. Buttersword Ganon, very easy. 6 slashes for phase 1, 6 slashes for phase 2, 4 slashes for phase 3, and then 4 slashes interspersed with 4 silver arrows for phase 4. Maybe even less if you're very talented at getting the doubles and triples.
As long as your arrows don't knock him over a pit or into one of the land. Roller eating Iris's Kinosamaria block.
And it asking us if we found those arrows in the late world. We sure did. Agina had the AGs. Speaking of G's, get a single G in cat chat for Neaterific. Finishing off boss 1 of 2. And save and quit, and likely will reset right to Super Metroid.
They'll need to be sure to stock up on their power bombs because they do not have 8. I thankfully have 35.
Oh, no, he did pick up Charge Beam from the village, so they have plenty of ammo and Iris, trying to get that small key from the Turtle Rock Bridge, took the safety exit just in case. Unfortunately, does not have the powder from Mickey Mouse.
Two hearts on Trinex is still pretty dangerous even with the red mail.
With Butter Sword, a 0 cycle is possible if you get behind Trinex right at the beginning, fire off that fire rod and swing your sword. Depends on how familiar you are with the fight. Oh, Neaterific must have grabbed Ice Beam from Sahasrah's closet as well. So, no problems with the Metroids. Iris takes out her 7th crystal, gets the Ether Medallion, and Diaz gets crystal number 6 from Misery Mire. Neaterific showing off those nice grouping strats. Turning off Screw Attack, potentially going to attempt Baby Skip. Monkey Boy in chat, no, you do not need to beat Link to the Past for Super Metroid. You can defeat them in either order. You find that most runners beat Link to the Past first, just in order to get some extra ammo or safeties from out of Ganon's tower. Like, for instance, in this seed, Ganon's tower held the plasma beam. And Neaterific missed Baby Skip, but is going to face right and save those 40 frames. Speaking of plasma, Iris will be picking up that shortly from Dark Magician. And unfortunately doing Dark Magician strats. Either if it gets appetite skip. And is on to Mother Brain, number 1. Number 1, oh, no issue, and on to the trickier part of the fight, which is Mother Brain 2. Although with full being combos, this should not be an issue. And oh no, Iris is going to go full right after Compass Room. So it won't be quite last location big key, but pretty close.
Needing to be careful because you need to have at least 300.
Yeah, I think he was going to try to set up for a stand-up glitch. He was good for energy now. Nope, missed it. And there's an E-Tank, the Mushroom, and an Arrow upgrade behind Ice Armos. Iris will have to go back left, while Nidorufic gets an energy refill from the baby Metroid. We'll have to do vanilla Hyper Beam strats on Mother Brain, can't get any extra hits in. And yeah, at this point, the only chests that we haven't seen are Rando Room and a couple of chests at the top of the tower. So it could be in Post Smolder Room 2 as well. No problem for Nidorufic. Gets Mother Brain down. Now yes, all there's left is the escape.
Guaranteed that last shot.
Speed booster, space jump. Makes escape nice and easy. It turned off screw attack earlier to try to do baby skip, but it doesn't really make a difference. It's the final Shine Spark up the shaft.
Will they save the animals?
Does not appear so. Makes their way to the ship, and Niterific has finished in first place with an official SRL time of 3 hours, 21 minutes, and 40 seconds. Get your GGs in chat. We will see if we can get him in for an interview. Iris is completing their way through land mode 2, just barely missed the 1 cycle. And Endias is on their way to finish off Trinex. Irish finishing off her gauntlet climb. And Endia's getting their 7th crystal for Trinex. And we are joined by our race winner, Niterific. GG. GG, Niterific.
GG.
Your thoughts on that seed?
Very evil.
Yeah?
Vanilla Moon Pearl? Almost Vanilla Hammer? What is this?
It was interesting to try to figure out. You opted for Dark World access by, I believe, fake flippering out of Meridia, or did you do the actual flippers out of Meridia?
No, I found the 2 gauntlets.
Ah.
Yeah,
We had 4 different ways of Dark World access in this seed, and oh yes, there was also the Vanilla Wave Beam.
Oh, right. So I was expecting Ridley to have something important behind him, but when I was in Upper Norfair full clearing it, I only had 15 super missiles. I was hoping that Meridia or Rex ship would have something, but they both had nothing.
No, Meridia got everyone's hopes up with the boots, but even the boots didn't lead to anything.
And they weren't required to beat the seed.
And really, it was either you had to do Aghanim or logically double dip Lower Norfair.
I don't remember double dipping Lower Norfair.
Logically, because you could beat Ridley without Charge Beam, but
right.
Charge Beam was in the Dark World.
Okay, I keep forgetting that. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't come up very often. Usually, there's more than enough ammo around.
Took a while to amass enough super missiles to face Ridley.
Yeah, that was a problem. It was very light in ammo early in the seed, especially when pretty much everybody last locations, the progression being those power bombs just beyond Billy May's entrance.
As soon as I found ice, I knew it was something in the ceiling, which was lamp. But I should have kept going into to Eastern Palace because I would have had Mirror and Moon Pearl a bit earlier than 2 hours in.
Yeah, unfortunately, Eastern was always a required double dip.
Yeah.
And Iris has defeated her Ganon. Get a single gene chat for Iris, and we'll be on our way for Mother Brain.
So it was a Hundu seed for pretty much everyone.
Pretty much everyone. You and Iris both had Hammer as your go mode, and Diaz had forgotten Samaria in the back in Dark Cross. Kachiri was just about on their way into Lower Norfair to get their flippers and Titan's mitts, but had a death at Gold Chorizo.
Yeah, I killed blindly Golden Chorizo, hoping it would have something. I've been really bad at the reverse at gate glitching lately, so I figured I would waste less time killing Golden Chorizo straight up than trying to gate glitch 30 times.
How disappointed were you when you turned in that green pendant and it wasn't your hammer?
Well, it was grapple, and I was like, oh no, don't tell me.
And then that was not anything either.
Nothing.
Pretty much all of the progression was in Norfair in this seed.
Yeah, even Ice Rod was there. For a while I was following Speed Booster thinking it must unlock something because everything that was Speed Lock that I found was crap. But I had forgotten about Ice Rod, which I got really early.
Yeah. Luckily you did avoid going into Pendant Ice looking for your go mode item. That was pretty much the difference between you and Iris.
I mentally checked out of this seat about an hour ago, so I was going, Galaxy Brain plays, hoping something would pan out. But no, it was in pod all this time.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it might have been actually quicker to do AGA for your Dark World access. It's an interesting thing that if you had all the information, I'm not sure what the quickest route through this seed would be.
Yeah, looking at the spoiler log would be interesting to see what route you could devise. So if you went into Eastern early, you would have Mirror, and then you go to Blue Brinstar, you would have Lamp, which would give you access to Hera early, and then you would have Moon Pearl. Then you could just kill Aga there, and you could go straight to Pod there and find your hammer there.
Yep. The other option would be that when you do the Death Mountain, you go and get that whole care package out of Norfair. The flute, the various suit, the space jump, the gravity suit, the hook shot.
They were all very early. Then there was almost nothing left in Super Metroid except Lower Norfair. Yeah, front-loaded seeds get your hopes up, and then they just shatter them for you.
And this was a strange sort of front-loaded seed where everything was quite linear, where you got your sword, you got your morph ball, and then you had to go all the way into Blue Bryn to get some power bombs in order to progress for that, get your glove.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this particular seed?
Oh.
Things you wish you would have done differently besides going into pod?
Well, maybe pay attention to the mother brain fight so I could do stand up. I think for half the fight, I wasn't even looking at the screen. I was just holding, shoot, and releasing.
Oh, and then you misread how much energy you had left.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a bad seed, but it was. I feel exhausted now.
It was absolutely, even though there was not a lot of danger, especially for Link to the Past, it was a very challenging seed.
Yes. Yeah.
Thoris, do you have any questions for Niterific?
No, I think you covered them all.
Okay, well, Gigi again, thank you for running. You're welcome to hang out with here while we wait for Iris and Diaz to finish up.
Normally I would stay, but I need a break. Thank you for casting.
Well, thank you again, and Gigi, take care. Iris setting up for her stand-up glitch. Manages that nicely. And Diaz finishes off their Moldrum 2, got through the bumper room, and is on to Aghanim 2. Thoris, do you know exactly how much time stand-up glitch saves?
I don't know how much time exactly, but you can, if you do it well enough with enough energy, you can get Mother Brain down to 1 hit before she dies.
So I'd say it's
your
probably
base 4 power just goes instantly.
about 30 seconds or so. If you do it ideally. 'Cause then you can skip almost all of phase 4.
You do really need to be really careful though that you don't soft lock yourself.
Yeah, if you accidentally fire your beam at the wrong time, the game will go into the super slowdown mode that seems like a hard lock, but it's not, but you'll waste a good 20 minutes.
There's also, if you don't line yourself up properly, Mother Brain will not be able to shoot the baby Metroid, and you'll be stuck in that forever state.
And Diaz has their quick Ganon fight while Iris is making her way through the escape. Also gets the Shaft Spark. And will she save the animals? She is. Thank you, Iris. Friend to all animals.
Meanwhile, Endius has finished off Ganon.
Get a G in chat for NDS. And as NDS appears on his shift, Iris stands on hers and finishes off with an official SRL time of 3 hours, 36 minutes, and 54 seconds. Get your GGs in chat for Iris. And Iris will be joining us not in the voice chat, but just in the text chat. Looking at Nidorufic's item location, 217 is fairly high, but not too high. It obviously doesn't count any items that you looked at but did not pick up, or items that you might have reset out of. Diaz making their way through Turian, working on the ice and missile strats. Just a reminder that if you've liked what you see here, be sure to follow all of our runners. They put in an excellent show here today for both their entertainment and yours. And just a reminder that we do a Super Metroid Link to the Past combo randomizer race every Sunday on Speed Gaming, alternating between normal and hard mode, and also one on Monday evening. So tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, there will be a hard logic Super Metroid Link to the Past combo randomizer race on a channel. Right, sorry, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, Miss Metroid. I was thinking in my own time zone again. 9 p.m. Eastern on a Speed Gaming channel yet to be determined. But if you join our Discord and you're interested, there's always people up for racing at any time. There's lots of resources, tips, tricks, and tools. And Diaz doesn't look like they're going to go for Baby Skip. Oh, maybe? No. And Iris is joining us in the Twitch chat. GG, Iris. Thoughts on that hammer location? Uh-oh. Iris doesn't see the chat. Yeah, hammer was yours and Nidorufic's go mode. We did find Quake in Ice Palace. I believe that ND has picked that up. semi-vanilla hammer is not a fun thing to find. Oh, and Diaz with a very nice appetite skip. Iris, you were the first person to grab Titan Mitts from Ridley, but then had that unfortunate death on escaping Norfair. I guess the question that I have for you, Iris, is that when you were going back through Norfair, you skipped getting the powder. Was that intentional? Or skipped getting the powder again, rather, from Mickey Mouse? Luckily, obviously the powder didn't have anything progression-wise. When did you realize that you left the powder? Was that in Thieves Town? Yeah. Miss Metroid did notice that you went to your menu and didn't have the powder. Still have no idea where high jump boots were. They're either in Moldorm 2's last chest, or they're in the randomizer room. Chiri had an unfortunate death on Golden Chorizo. I think that it was just chosen to hide the timer. I'm not sure where it went. He was early in Lower Norfair, but he hadn't saved since transitioning through Upper Norfair. And I think he would have had to re-get the hook shot and the gravity beam. I don't remember if Chiri saved after getting those. But N. Diaz is on their Phase 4 Mother Brain. No issues with that. Yeah, let's talk about those suits. Let's talk about how loaded Norfair was. Kachiri actually was the first person to Varia. I can't remember who was the first person to Gravity, but you were actually the first person who kept Varia. Oh, and Endy has missed the spark, has to do the climb up. It was just one of those things where, because power bombs were so sparse, it was easy to get locked behind some kind of bomb. No, funnily enough, everybody who got to GT decided to go to the right side and got Spring Ball first. But Diaz lands on their ship and finishes with an official SRL time of 3 hours, 46 minutes, and 53 seconds. Get your GGs in chat for Diaz. And we are joined here in chat with Diaz. GG.
GG.
So you had mentioned that in the IRC chat that you had lost an hour because of a missed input. Can you elaborate on that?
So I accidentally used my mirror on the way into Dark Cross, and that made me full clear the entire game, both games.
Oh no, because we were wondering, because you did the front of escape, and then you used your mirror.
No, I didn't
Then
actually get
you
to
went-
the chest.
Oh.
Yeah,
Then you went to the back of escape with the key and thought you were going to go that way, so...
Yeah, I had forgotten about it. But yeah, I thought I had bombs equipped. I was in the Dark Cross room, and I was going to use bombs as like a visual indicator to do the whole thing in the dark, even the back. And then I used my mirror, and I was like, well, it's probably not going to matter.
Oh no. Yeah,
Oh well.
You, I believe, were the second person to grab that hammer out of pod, which tripped half of the stream up.
Yeah, I was just really committed to not doing AGA, so I just did that fake flippers in the back.
That might have been the quickest way through it, just knowing where the flippers were, and where the other glove was, and where the hammer was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure, logically, it's either AGA or double dip lower Norfair.
Yeah, the logic would have required you to get the flippers, bail out of Norfair to Meridia and go through the Dark World. That it's definitely one of those seeds where proving following the logic 100% is not always the best option.
Yeah, and that's not what you do when it's just a fun weekly, right? That's why I went to wreck a ship so early. For fun.
Yeah, and I mean, you then bailed out early, which in hindsight was the right thing to do, even though you had to then go back and look for your cane, because there was absolutely nothing of value in the top half.
Yeah, I should have committed to that play. And I did all of my Link to the House, or Link to the Past housekeeping, except for that one item. It was literally the last one.
Yeah, we were worried that you had abandoned it, and we weren't sure if you had forgotten about it entirely or just were convinced that it wasn't going to be anything.
I actually used Emo Tracker map tracking, so I knew it was there. And I was like, well, I'm just going to keep going to the places where there are more items. And then it was the only.
Yep. 226 item count, though, for hundoing the seed. You know, couple of things left, like randomizer room in GT, Old Worm 2 chest.
And I think Mimic Cave was the only thing.
Yep, so one of those is where our high jump boots had to be. And yes, Iris, someone did check Shack Tool, and I believe it was some bombs? 3 bombs? Anyway, any other thoughts on the seed? Any, other than the cane, anything you wish you would have done differently?
I wish I'd gone to the high jump quicker. That was a pretty easy Varia suit that I left forever.
Yeah, that was easy, especially then immediately leading you to the gravity suit.
Yep.
Upper Norfolk was just loaded.
Other than that, that's about it. Maybe I should have left Croc alone. Poor Croc had to die for nothing.
Yeah, the one seed where there was nothing behind Croc. Not even, something nice, like convenience item. Well, anyway, GG, any final thoughts?
Nope, that's all. GG.
All right, thanks for racing. Thanks for joining us. Thoris, any final thoughts on this seed?
It's definitely an interesting one. I do love when vanilla or almost vanilla items trip people up.
It's one of those things where it's just as likely as any other place, but it still happens.
I think it's all psychology done by the seed.
Absolutely. Anyway, with that, we'll wrap things up for now. Just a reminder once again to give all these runners a follow, show them some love. They run Randomizer very frequently, and they're all fantastic people. Also, please be sure to give my co-com a follow, as well as our tracker, Miss Metroid.
And do also give Mind of Me a follow as well. Don't forget yourself.
Oh, sure, why not? If you like randomizer action, we don't have any more combo right now, but on Speed Gaming 4, there is Super Metroid Randomizer League going on, and on Speed Gaming 3, there will be Link to the Past Randomizer League going on. Later tonight, there is more of both on all of the Speed Gaming channels, as well as Link to the Past spoiler log tournaments, Super Metroid Prodigy tournaments, and New Super Mario Bros. Wii. And like I said, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, on a channel yet to be determined, we will have the hard logic mode of the Super Metroid combo randomizer, where some of the more difficult tricks, like suitless Meridia dives, hell runs, difficult wall jumps, mock balls, all those could be locking your items in Super Metroid. Very fun to watch, and if you're capable of doing it, very fun to play. If you are interested in the combo randomizer, be sure to check out our Discord. I'll take a look at the chat. Sorry, I meant to say put that link in the chat. My voice is giving out a little bit after 3 hours. And with that, for our tracker Mind of Me, my co-commentator Thoris, I am Mind of Me, signing off. Good rando, everyone.
Yep, GG everybody.